Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Seattle Online Broadcast Association April Meetup. Now, we took a quick break because I can't speak for these two wonderful people, but I am a mere mortal who needs like water and bathroom breaks occasionally. So we took a quick break, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk some more about. So we've talked a little bit about your current kind of projects you're working on and your aspirations, but I do want to talk more about your journey of going from kind of doing this on streaming, cover artist, to being this 2.5D idol. And I want to talk more about your journey from kind of writing lyrics for your sister with Sue to kind of writing lyrics for VTuber Channel. So the first thing I kind of want to ask, and this one is an odd question that is based on my own experience, so if it doesn't apply to you, that's fine. I can tell you the exact moment that I knew that I wanted to do any particular hobby that I've put a bunch of time and energy into. So for video games, for example, that one's really easy. When I was very young, my dad got me an NES, and the first two games he got me was The Legend of Zelda and Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest.
Oh, your dad's got good taste.
He had no idea what any of that meant. He went to the toy store, because this is back when video games were considered toys.
Sure.
And the guy was like, these are games your kid will love. And it was mostly because no one was really buying those games. They were buying... This is when the NES first came out, so everyone was buying Super Mario and Excite Bike.
Okay.
Legend of Zelda was a little bit more niche, and Castlevania 2 was translated really poorly, so it didn't sell really well. But that was what lit the spark for me for video games.
Right.
So what kind of lit the spark for you when it comes to music?
Do you want to start with this
Okay. When I was 6 years old, my mom rented a videotape, because that's how old I am, okay? A videotape of the musical Annie. And I saw a girl who was singing her heart out, and I was like, oh, I like that. I want to try that too. My mom has home videos, I think, of me singing "The Sun'll Come Out Tomorrow," you know?
That's such a you song, too.
I know, right? Oh my gosh.
So I got really into that, and I got really into theater. My mom signed me up for, like the local, nonprofit theater group for young people and everything like that. So I was a theater kid, unfortunately. I got really into, thank you. That means a lot to me.
As a theater kid, there's nothing wrong with being a theater kid.
Are y'all theater kids here a little bit?
There's no way.
A choir,
So
yeah.
choir kid tracks. That makes sense. There's no way. Okay. I'm sorry. I know we're cutting off in the middle. But
tangent away.
there's no way that you become a streamer and you are not part theater kid somewhere. Either you were an actual theater kid, you wanted to be a theater kid, or you should have bloody been a theater kid. And wasn't. So anyone who says that that's not the case is lying to you. Trust me.
This is the truth, amen.
But
I think the second big piece of that is, I don't know, when I was like 12 or 13, I saw Sailor Moon on TV. And then I was like, I'm going to get into anime. Anime is so cool. It made me probably the most uncool person in my entire middle school, actually, but that's fine. But I started listening to music. I started hearing Japanese, Ani song for the first time. And, from there, it's like a slippery slope. You're watching Cardcaptor Sakura, and I got really into Slayers. I had Slayers phase in middle school where I would try to cast the Dragon Slave. And
the only thing about Cardcaptor Sakura that I didn't like is that in the U.S., where they started the show was where the other guy.
They started 8 episodes in.
Yeah,
Why did they do that?
Because they thought boys wouldn't want to watch a show that only had a girl protagonist.
Yeah, and they thought the girls
And the boys
didn't care
didn't come
about
until
cartoons.
8 episodes in?
Yeah, the
Right.
male character doesn't show up until eight episodes in. So she has several cards at that point. And you're like,
What's
it seems
happening?
like it's really difficult for her to get these, but she has these ones already. How did that work?
Do you know, even in Canada, they got them in order. It was just the U.S. The U.S. didn't air them in order.
Somehow it's a very American thing.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it, but
Well, it has gotten better now.
Yeah.
Because
for sure.
and you mentioned that anime would have made you the least popular person in middle school. It's wild to me that is a very common refrain for how anime was, and now you look at how anime is perceived, and if you don't know animes, people kind of go like, how do you not know any of these things? So it's interesting how that how that has kind of mutated, because you also even see it in other media, right? Like you see Riot Games has been very famous about turning some of their characters into like there's the whole Star Guardian line of skins that the cinematics that they've made for that, if you watched them, you would think you were watching cinematics for an anime.
Right.
So it's wild that that's, I don't know when it changed.
It's become very influential. Yeah, and it's just like with music that we were talking about earlier. You know, music from different cultures is influenced more now by things from other places. So I think that's a good thing.
It's definitely like the internet and the world like opening up and stuff. Especially, I mean, this probably started happening before pandemic, but during pandemic, everybody became like chronically online because that's the only way we could connect with people, right?
Yeah.
And so people were exposed to different kinds of cultures and stuff. And internet culture, which is deeply, deeply integrated with like anime culture too. So
that is an interesting. I had never actually considered that kind of connection because for me it feels like it was always a slow kind of progression, but I would be willing to bet you that would probably be the biggest spike.
It's a little spike, right?
Because like same thing happened with gaming, right? Because for a very long time, gaming was, I mean, it was popular. It was a very powerful, it was a very strong industry, but it wasn't $11 billion strong. And it seems like over the span of a couple of years, the video game industry became huge, and by extension, streaming kind of became huge because I have been streaming since, I don't know, 2016 maybe. And I wasn't streaming to a bunch of people, but I was streaming so that my friends who were not able to join us for a particular game session could watch and kind of join in on all of the stuff we would get up to. I would stream Call of Duty stuff, and most times when we streamed that, we were basically just being kind of goofy so they could watch it and kind of relive that. I actually remember the first solo stream I did was I was playing Battlefield 4.
Oh, okay.
And it was horrendous. It was a horrible stream. I took
In terms of what?
In terms of, so my first stream, and this stream still exists on Twitch. I made it a highlight, so it's not even a VOD so that it's
You gotta
not
remember your roots. I respect that.
I made it because I wanted to be able to show people, like, if you think, oh, well, I can't really do the thing you're doing. The thing that I'm doing, I was real bad at. My tone was bad. I sounded like a, how can I say this in a way that won't get me in trouble? Because we are on the front page. I sounded like a narcoleptic, bored English professor while playing a war game.
Were you bored?
No, I was so worried about how I was going to come across, and I wanted to make sure that the information that I was presenting was coming out very well. And I didn't have a camera on, so it's not like I was looking into a camera, but I still was delivering my lines like I was looking into a camera, like I was reading the evening news. And a friend of mine saw that I was streaming and didn't say anything in the chat. He jumped into the Xbox Live party I was in. And he goes, hey, man, you want me to join up with you? And I'm like, yeah, sure, we can do that. And so he joins up with me, and I'm trying to do like this very clinical tutorial about like, these are what the different classes are, and this is the best gun for this class. Meanwhile, my friend is being chaos incarnate. So everything that I'm saying to not do, in the moment I'm saying to not do it, he is doing those things.
Sure, why not?
And making them work. So at some point, I can hear it in my voice. I get frustrated because I say that this is a thing that you shouldn't do. And he starts counting his kills doing that thing. And at one point, you hear my voice change. And it goes from this very clinical, very, very boring, very straightforward delivery to, okay, listen. Hold on, chat. And that was the first time that I mentioned chat, like I called chat his own entity.
Wow.
And I went from like, and if you want to have a really good auto... Okay, hold on, chat. First things first. Why does that work? That shouldn't be working. I have watched you play this game for a year and a bloody half, and you've never been able to make that work. And you choose now to make that work?
That sounds like a great clip honestly.
He sends me a text while this is going on. And if you ever go back and watch it, you'll hear there's a point where I'm having this kind of tirade, and then I stop talking for a second because he texts me. And he texted me a single sentence. Do more of that.
Wow.
And I went, and I'm looking at the text, and I don't have a camera on. And so I kind of mouth. And I respond back, why? And he goes, look at your viewership. And I look over, and I went from 1 viewer to 4. Now, in the grand scheme of things, 1 to 4 is not a big deal. But I didn't know 4 people that knew I had a Twitch account.
You quadrupled your viewer count.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
In the span of one kind of tirade. So the rest of the stream is less about me trying to explain how to play Battlefield, and it's more about babysitting my best friend who is doing his best to find the fastest way to the respawn screen that he can. After the stream was done, he goes, I joined you because you were doing so poorly. I have listened to you talk for years, and you've always been compelling and interesting and charming, and you sounded like someone doing a bad impersonation of you.
Wow.
So I bring up that story to kind of ask, at what point in doing the content creation that you were doing did you go, that's it? This is who I'm supposed to be.
I want to hear Phoebe's story so bad.
Oh boy.
I know that was a long build up to this question.
Dang. That's a little bit different of a question than I expected, because I thought it was like, oh, when did you know you wanted to do the thing? No, when did you know this is
When
it?
did you know that this is it? This is the version of me I'm supposed to be.
Okay. Let's see. I think I'm gonna hone in on the 2.5D aspect of this, because I could have, after pandemic, gone back to just doing my IRL stuff.
Yes.
Or I could have honed in on the VTubing thing and just completely given up the other side.
Right.
But I am this weird, kind of unheard of hybrid of the two. And I guess the moment that I knew I wanted to do this was perhaps maybe right after we started opening the world up again.
Okay.
I had already been VTubing at that point for at least a year, because I think my first show was fall of 2021 or something.
Okay.
So we'd been in pandemic for over a year by then.
Yeah.
And
Going crazy,
I was stepping on
walls.
stage actually here in Seattle.
Really? Okay.
At Northwest Idol Fest, which was their very first year. And I felt this huge change in my stage presence.
Okay.
I felt this huge change in the way that I even just interacted with people in meet and greets and stuff. And I knew I was not on stage as aspiring idol, aspiring singer person. No, I knew who I was, and I knew exactly what my story was and how I wanted to present myself. But that was only because of my experiences, doing the virtual stuff.
Yeah.
Not just the virtual stuff. I guess it wouldn't even have to be virtual, but streaming helped me to realize who I was, who my community was, and what kind of message I wanted to tell the world with my performances, with my music.
Okay.
So I was a different me up there. I think I had cried after almost every single... I had been performing for years at that point, but I was
cried too. I was in the audience. I cried my brains out.
Thank you so much. Because, it sounds so sadistic, but I actually really enjoy making people cry with my music and my performances.
You sang All of My Life, and that's when I felt it so hard. It was like a truck hit me in the heart, but in the best way.
Oh, thank God. But please don't get hit by any trucks.
Okay.
Please,
Yeah, no,
please.
that's
if I get isekai,
we watch enough. Yeah,
I'll let you know.
No isekai transfer.
No truck queen. No.
It's funny you say that sounds kind of sadistic, but this is the first thing in our talking that we have in common. I also seek to make people cry with my actions online, but it's not in a good way.
What? Toxic gamer or
the opposite, actually.
Opposite.
Okay, so this is not supposed to be an interview about me, but I have to explain this kind of part to make this make sense. So, as a content creator, as a streamer, there are a lot of people that I would see that would go, I really want to get on and play this game, but there are so many people that are kind of jerks, so I don't really get on and play.
Right.
And I'm not bad. I'm an okay gamer. And so at one point, one of my friends had joined me to play, and she kept her mic muted. in game chat. Like, we were in a separate call, but she kept her mic muted. And I would talk to the lobby before the game. A matter of fact, before every game, I would say the same thing. I would say, good luck, have fun, be nice, don't die. And then whatever people said in response would determine how I responded to the rest of the match. And she said something that I thought was really funny and really clever. And I was like, you should tell that to everyone else. That's a really good, that's a really good thing. And she goes, nah, I can't do that. And I'm like, why not? She goes, I'm a girl on COD. If I start talking, people will be jerks. And I go, okay. You only play this game with me, though, right? She goes, yeah. I'm like, okay, talk away. She goes, but then people will be jerks. I'm like, I know. I have a notebook next to my desk. And I'm going to write down the gamer tags of people that are jerks. And she goes, why? I'm like, I spend entirely too much time on this game. And matchmaking is a fairly narrow pool. If I see them and they're not on my team, but they're in my book, I'm going to make it my objective to make them quit the game. And she goes,
the book.
That's
oh
not,
my gosh.
That's not, you don't have to do that. I'm like, I know I don't have to, but it brings me joy. So she starts talking, and we found a couple of teammates that were decent. And then one person on our team kind of started being an asshole, jerk. Started being a jerk. And so I write the name down in the book, and we're in a Discord video call. So she sees me pick up this notebook and write it. And so she mutes in game, and she goes, you really are writing down names. I'm like, yeah. I write down the date, the name, the game that we were playing, and the game mode. So like 2 weeks later, I'm playing on my stream, and I join a game, and I see the name, and my brain goes, that name looks kind of familiar. Yeah, that is the guy. And the match starts, and you see that you're on different teams, and I go, hey, Noob Slayer 64. Yeah? About 2 weeks ago, we were in a match, and you said mean things to my friend. We're not on teams this match. I will see you in the lobby. Whatever, man, whatever. Now, for those of you who don't play COD, in Call of Duty, when you kill another player, you can hear their voice for about a split second.
Wow.
It is designed so that if they make a call out letting the rest of their team know where you're coming from, you can adjust and do something else. Most times you hear random curse words or crap or some other thing like that. So when someone kills you and you know that and you know how much time you have, you can mess with them. So he happened to get the first shot on me, and I said to him, now, and remember, he can hear my voice. You've heard me talk now for almost 45 minutes, so I'm going to emulate how it sounded to him, okay? So I want you to imagine you're playing a game, you're being kind of a jerk, and then you kill this guy, and then you hear this. Now I know where you are. So he left the spot that he was in, which is great, because I saw where he was and saw where he left, so I sniped him. And I heard him call out where I was. And then I continued to find just him. Not the other him as often as I could. And when it was all done and we get back to the lobby, he goes, what's your effing problem? And I went, you need to learn to be nicer to people. Because you never know who their friends are. I have nothing but time. And you made the mistake of accepting my Xbox friend request. So if you change games, I will know it. I will buy that game.
Oh my God.
I will matchmake with you, and I'll kick your in that game too. And he goes, whatever, and he leaves the game. And he loads up Rainbow Six Siege, which I happen to own and enjoy that game. So I exited COD, went to Rainbow Six Siege. The friends that were playing with me also happened to have Rainbow Six Siege, so we all go over to this game.
So this is the origin story of the Xbox vigilante. Huh?
This is my villain origin story. This is how it happens. If I ever become a super villain, this is how it starts. Okay. But the whole point of that, though, is that in that moment, I kind of had a connection to that particular friend of mine. And it's really difficult seeing things from other people's shoes until you kind of get to have that experience. So, again, with all of that being said, considering that VTubing was a thing that you kind of got into as an additional part of what you were doing, what was your particular moment where you really understood what the VTuber experience could, not what it was, but what it could be, like how impactful it could be?
I see. I think it's hard to pinpoint it to a singular moment.
Okay.
But I started having these interactions that I maybe wouldn't have with, like, because you do IRL shows, and you know, geographically, depending on where you go, either like super hardcore fans will follow you,
Right.
or you'll just see whoever's local, and
Right.
then they can look forward to the next time you're going to be in the area.
Right.
But with streams, they can pop in whenever they want to, so long as it's, you know, works with their time zone.
Right. Or when they're awake.
When they're awake,
Yeah.
exactly. They could have weird hours and stuff.
Or
but
not
like, yes. But I started getting messages, like interacting with people in such a way that, like, I knew that I kind of had a stake in their lives in a way that I didn't before. In fact, maybe it was super recently that I had this experience, because it was last year, summertime. You know, high schoolers, college students are graduating.
Right.
I had a longtime viewer who had been watching me since when I basically started streaming.
Okay.
I'm coming up on 5 years, but last year would have been 4 years. So this guy was a freshman in high school when he started watching me.
Okay.
And he's like, he sends me a DM on Discord. He's like, I'm sorry, I know that the rules in the Discord are that I'm not supposed to directly message you.
Right.
But I wanted to send you this picture, and it's him in his graduation gown and cap. And he's like, you were my high school experience. You helped me through so many really difficult times. And now I want to go and make the world a more beautiful place the way that you did for me. So he's like, I'm going off to college. I want to try VTubing and stuff myself as well. And I was just like, this guy, we even got to the point where he had like a little nickname for me. He called me Fizzy and stuff. And I was just like, I am so honored to have been able to be part of that experience for you. I'm sure I wasn't your entire high school experience,
Right.
but I'm happy to have been able to have even like a modicum of like a positive impact on that part of your life.
She's underselling it. That's the power of idols.
That-
That is why I love, more than anything, more than anybody, more than any kind of music or any, like, idols are like my number one priority when it comes to lyrics, because of those sorts of stories, because of people touching each other's hearts and
Exactly.
changing each other's lives and making a positive impact in the world.
And you're doing that in your own way too. You translate that into your lyrics so well.
I put my whole kokoro in it.
You put your whole kokoro in
Yeah.
it. You too.
Okay, so the one thing that I've taken away from this is that there's more than one way to make the world a better place. My methods are questionable.
I think they're amazing in their own way.
I appreciate that, but you and I both know it's borderline war crimes. But I digress. The good thing that I've taken away from this, and I hope this is what you've taken away from this as well, is that it is far better to just try to make the world a better place for yourself and for other people around you, because you never know how far the reach of those things will go. My methods are very limited to the game I'm playing, but it seems like yours can transcend time zones, dimensions, 2.5D, 2D, 3D, across all of that. So now, this is kind of the end of the time that I have with you. I tremendously appreciate you coming on, both of you. I really appreciate you guys coming on.
I
and
especially
sharing your story.
appreciate Phoebe coming out when her voice is, like in trouble, and she still came out to see me.
I wanted to, when I knew I was doing it with you, I knew I really wanted to make it work somehow. But this ended up being so special. Thank you for sharing your own experiences with us as well. Curse, blurst, whatever they are.
Yes. But I do appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to having you guys back again. Maybe next year, Sakura-Con, we might have the 2.5D version of you on,
That would
which
be
would be
really
a lot of
cool.
fun. So that's something you might want to stay tuned to. But for now, I just need you to stay tuned, because we'll be right back after a brief break. All right? So take care.